The blood runs underground, yet brings forth a tower and sexting. Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome. We're ready to do some pours this morning, afternoon, evening. Hopefully, it's not bitterly cold where you are. It is absolutely frigid here. The temperature must be about 15 degrees, and with the wind kicking up, oh my goodness, but we're warm and toasty. I wanted to explore twins this morning, and I just bought another fantastic book by S.S. Bazinet, and the latest release is A Dragon's Only Wish, so I'm so anxious to delve into it. Dragons and mythical creatures, fairy tales. Anxious to find out about Harold, our protagonist, and his paramour Shirley. Very, very excited about that read. I have read quite a few books by S.S. Bazinet, and so I'm well aware or very familiar with her works, and she writes beautifully. I wanted to focus on one of the books that haunts me to this day, and I've always been fascinated with twins and the idea of nature versus nurture, and quite a few different psychologists, psychiatrists, scientific researchers of genetics and so on, like Skinner and Chomsky and Froebel, Piaget, just to name a few here. And they've explored and discussed it, and they say that the topic or the debate is over and it's been concluded that one way or another. I don't know. I kind of think that it is a blend of the two, and I think most of them would agree with that. The idea that the interaction with the ecosystem, the false dichotomy that might have existed, is kind of put to rest. And when you think about nature versus nurture, and I think about my own children, we think about their early years, their formative years, we think about the differences each one has and the biological makeup, the emotional makeup, the psychological makeup. So which is it? Both, neither, one more than the other. Does one tip the scale a little bit more? So I wanted to look at dying takes it out of you. I'm sorry, that's another one in my mind. Um, it is, I'm sorry, I'm kind of losing it today. I have so many books that I want to work on, but it's just fascinating. Was my go-to today. So yes, dying takes it out of you, and we meet Milton and Dory in that particular novel, and they are twins. So let me go over what I'm doing today. I am using birch again, and this time I'm using hexagon shapes because there are so many layers and facets to our own genetic makeups, as you will hopefully find out through the reading, but also in exploring or watching twins, if you've come across twins and noticed the differences or the subtle differences, especially with the identical twins. So I have primed my hexagon with the Deco Art Satin Enamel. Absolutely love the texture and the fluidity that it brings to a canvas. Most particular, I find, with the wood canvases, it works really, really well. Then what I have done is I've used a titanium white by Liquitex, which I mixed with water, just water, to that warm honey consistency. Put that to the side. And I've placed it in a bottle for easier flow this morning. Hopefully that works. My paint palette is a bit minimalistic, but I think it's more complex as we put it down, and let's hope that it works out. All of my paints have been mixed with the Pouring Masters Glossy Pour and Finish. That does add a luster to the canvas when all is said and done. All of my descriptions and my ratios will be at the end or will be on my page, so please do check them out. I've also added GAC to the colors themselves, as well as my coconut milk. So let me introduce you to the color palette. I am using a metallic silver, which I have included It does tend to make its own cells, generate its own cells, but I did include some of the coconut oil, just a couple of drops here, and again, water to the consistency. Highly recommend that you do not add paint to the water, but rather the water to the paint, because the texture and the fluidity will be off if you do it the other way around or try to salvage it that way. Deco art, I'm using this teal. It's one of my favorite colors. I'm very drawn to it. This one is a metallic, as I said. I'm also using the USA Art Supply acrylic paint, and this is blue to gold iridescent, so as it dries it will bring a luminescence to the composition as well. Love this color, the mica. It is this pearl sapphire blue, and it has a shimmer to it, and that is by Ideal. And then I'm using Patio, which is wonderful pouring medium, or excuse me, acrylic paint. High viscosity, retains its color as it's drying, so you're not in for any great surprises. And this is a blue Vert Iridescent, it's called, and I love it. So the idea of twins, and we're looking at Milton, who's a successful doctor, and Dory, who's bitten on his neck by a bloodthirsty entity, and you're left with, well, will Milton sacrifice his career, jeopardize his career, everything that he has worked so hard for in order to save Dory, who has a run with some bad luck? And so we'll talk a little bit about that as we move on. But I want to get started because I wanted to give my paints time to settle. So what I did earlier is I wanted to get it started and get the ratios down as best I could with the idea of twins, so them being as close, and they are actually, because I measured them out in fluid ounces and weighed them, which I didn't do on some of the others where I didn't need to, but I'm exploring the idea of twins and the similarities. So I'm doing the flip cup pour this morning, and the idea is to do them exactly the same and then step back and look at the results that we get. All right, so what I want to do is just put my canvas to the center, and I'm hoping that it is, because that may affect that final result. I'm trying to hold it as tightly as I can so it's doesn't spill. I'm gonna put it gently on this canvas. Yes, I am working on getting my arms to be more cooperative, my hands more cooperative these days. All right, and then I want to do the same with this one. Again, I'm going to center it as best I can, hold it tightly so that hopefully it stays in the cup until I don't want it to, until we release it. All right. So we're going to wait just a few seconds, and that's actually pretty good. I've put them on 2 turntables, and I'll probably switch them off because one of them is a heavier turntable, and the spinning may be a little bit easier or faster because it is a weighed steel metal composition turntable, where this is plastic, so I don't want that to affect my mini experiment here, as it were. Dying Takes It Out of You. It is just a beautiful, beautiful read, and I hope you do get a chance to pick it up and find out for yourself. It covers the idea of mortality, immortality, intervening with what might be the destiny. And here we have 2 brothers who were brought up pretty much exactly the same. Very dysfunctional family. Father was a Harvard man. So their upbringing was filled with some trial and tribulations and challenges. And yet one, Milton, manages to be very successful and pursues that career, where Dory struggles and is always trying to find his identity and his purpose, and he runs into some trouble and some problems, and then he's bitten while he's walking in the middle of the night by this creature, as it were. And so he slowly begins to spiral into what probably may be oblivion, death, or and you wonder, what is Milton going to do to help his twin brother? So highly suggested read. I'm waiting for the paint. We are waiting for the paint to kind of come down and do its thing. And I'm going to try to do it as equal as I can, but I fear because the timing is going to be a little bit off, that one might be popped first. So I hope that doesn't affect our experiment a little bit too much as we explore the idea of twins and Milton and Dorian and S.S. Bassinet's Diane Takes It Out of You. I'm anxious to read her latest release, A Dragon's Only Wish. I'm excited to meet those characters there. I have read Holiday Hiccups, Traces of Home, A Mother's Love, which is another one of my favorites by S.S. Bassinet, which I highly recommend. Mysticism, spirituality. It explores the encompassing love that a mother has for her son. It talks about grief and the trials and the triumphs. And one of the things I came away with was, I never meant, or it's actually a direct quote from A Mother's Love, and I'm going to read it here because I want to get it exactly right. I never meant to be the most feared man on the planet when I was rejected at birth. I was prepared to withdraw from this life, from this world. However, my mother was determined to keep me here. She loved me as soon as she felt me quicken in her womb. So I stayed. So you get the essence of the beautiful work that she does. So again, highly, highly recommend her newest release, obviously anxiously awaiting, but A Mother's Love. In the meantime, please do pick it up. I have read it, as I said, and I love it. I've read Traces of Angels, Use Caution, It's Earth. Again, a great, great read. Michael's Blood, which is part of an ongoing series. I believe there may be 4 to that, and my memory kind of fails me right now. But do pick them up by S.S. Bassinet. You can find them on Amazon as well as some other sites. All right, so what I want to do in exploring the idea of twins and see exactly what happens when we release the cups and let the paint overtake our hexagon canvases. And these are 12, measuring 12s on the, from corners to corners. So let's say, I'm going to just pop this here and just leave it there for a second. As I said, I'm trying to do this precisely as I can, and the idea of nature versus nurture. You know, I look at my own children, and I said I have 5, and they're all very different. And my husband and I, well, we don't think we did anything differently in terms of showing affection, giving affection, discipline, obviously, giving them their needs, not always their wants, because, you know, as parents, you have to juggle things, and it's rather difficult to raise a family, especially in today's economy. But I think it's been like that for quite some time. But I digress. And I noticed that, or I know that their personalities played a large role in the people they have become and the paths that they have chosen. I'm so proud of all my children. But again, each one very, very different in the paths they chose and the choices that they made, their interests, whether it was sports or music or literature, the academics, what have you. And so, again, they were different, and I'm thinking, well, twins are different also. I am the grandmother of 2 fraternal twin girls, and I absolutely know that there is a difference there. And my handsome son, my gorgeous daughter-in-law, Julie, and their brother, Vinny, named after his grandpa, is just, you know, they're just wonderful with the twins, and there's really nothing different. But we noticed early on that Ella, the older twin, by a couple of minutes, is more laid back, more reserved. She's the observer. She's very introspective. Where Kaya, the second, is more outgoing, more rambunctious. She's the risk taker. And it's nothing that they're doing differently. It was just right at the onset, their genetic makeup. And it's that idea of, you know, your DNA predisposes you to certain emotional, psychological, physical characteristics. All right, so let's see what happens. As I said, I poured exact amount of the paint as well as the pouring medium. Silicone had been added to each one, and I precisely added 2 drops to each of the paints with the exception of the white. So we want to see what happens when I release. And let's see if Milton and Dory do have more in common than what seems to separate them. Just let some air out. Give it a couple of taps and lift. Oh. Wow. This was a little off, but it didn't destroy the composition too much. I fear my experiment might be a little off, but I still need you to check out the colors that are in here and how they interplay with one another. I want to torch it just a little bit. I want to bring you in for a close-up when it's done. So what we notice in what we don't see, that inside your genetic makeup, you know, you cannot see it with your naked eye, obviously. And it still has, and I'm going to compare it to this metaphorically, analyze it just a little bit here. So we do have some brown, that was that commingling of some of the colors together. It is the gold, right, interplaying with the blues and the white. So some of it has shot up into a silver. Boulders here. There are some here. We notice the blue that is surrounded by the white. Here some elongated brown. Here there is that same, again, that interplay of the colors turning that gold into more of a brown, but again, as it dries, it will develop into something else. Pretty much like our Milton and Dory in Dying Takes It Out of You. All right, I want to just add a little bit of the white base that I had created with titanium white around the outer part so that it will flow. I'm just going to add a little bit here. What I want to do, just to disrupt the world, because we all act differently when our world is spinning and our life experiences take us to wherever it might be. I want to spin it, and we'll do the same for that one, but I'm going to use it on this turntable, and let me just move this just a tad, because it will. Let's see what happens. Expanding some of those cells. There is some lacing that is going on here as well. I'm not going to spin it too much longer or too much harder because I want it to just do its thing. That slow process of growing up even. And getting older. Although sometimes as we get older we think time is just going a little too quickly. And I know that not just in the way my body acts and reacts, but also in watching my children and grandchildren age, as it were, right before my eyes. And so it's funny, I think sometimes, and I celebrate my birthday, and I love them for it. But it's like, you know what? It's celebrated once a year. I had 5 children. I think I should celebrate it 5 times a year. It is their birthday, but it was also mine. I like to think that my children, each one of them, just gave me birth. Does that make sense? I don't know. It's a reflective idea, and I thought about those relationships like in S.S. Bazinet's Dying Takes It Out of You, you know, and that sibling connection and the relationship that they had or didn't have with their family, and how each one acts and reacts to circumstances, events, tragedies, and all those foils that happen in life. And then again, I want to spin it a little bit harder this time. Dragons are mythical creatures. I don't know. Kind of mystical component to it also. I like the idea of spirituality that permeates and is woven through the theme of, or in one of the themes in a mother's love. And here's a mother, one more time, it needs to go on that edge. In a mother's love, she gives birth to a child who is taken from her, and things don't go as well as she thought, but she continues on her journey and her quest to find her child and to free him from some pretty nefarious things, and the way that he's turned out, and the chaos and evil that he's been drawn to, and how her love, her unconditional love, is constant and unwavering. And so she continues on. All right, I'm going to tilt it. You know what? I don't want to tilt it because I don't want to alter the program here in my twin, nature versus nurture. It's kind of Milton right here, and he started off, he was the older. And then we have Dory, who, it's ironic actually, as his life continued on, he kind of took another path and it veered off that road, as it were. And it seems appropriate. All right, does not want to seem to, and it's because I probably don't have enough paint here. And I'm only doing this, I only want to add a little bit of paint so that when it spins, that will flow off. And let's see if that happens. Just stop it, just to see if it got. It did. Let me just touch up the side so that I don't forget later. It's not affecting the composition of the piece itself, and the sides are just beautiful. All right, I want to switch off my gloves so that I don't contaminate what's going on here with Milton, and then in Dory again, and Diane takes it out of you. All right, I want to torch a little bit, get some of those bubbles out, and yes, some of those cells will come up as well. All right, this is going to be interesting. I want to just, actually, let me, since it is wood, I think I'll be okay with just putting it here for a second, just to move it, without trying to disrupt it too much. That'll be there. I want to put this on that same turntable and give it the same opportunity that I give Dory the same opportunities that Milton has had. You have to read the book to find out if indeed they have the same exact opportunities. All right, I want to leave this here, wipe off my hands, and we'll go in and nurture Dory a little bit. My hands have gotten really raw, so I'm trying to be more consistent and diligent with wearing my gloves. How's everyone today? Hope you you had a glorious weekend. You had a chance to go out when it was just a little bit warmer, because today is a good day for curling up at home with a good book if you're very frigid, cold climate, and especially if it's snowing. I love to read with a backdrop of snow. All right, I want to add my white here because most of the paint has veered off course, and it seems appropriate because Dory, even though he might not have been bitten and his life altered in a very aberrant way, might have not been able to find his course, his flow, as it were. All right, I'm going to check it out. I fear my gun might have run out once again. Oh, it did. All right, I'll have to go back and torch bubbles later. It happens. All right, spinning it as I did on that one. Again, giving it the same nurturing opportunity, or trying to get a similar. And there are, you know, it's the genetics or the DNA, and the structure is very, very similar, though not identical. You can definitely see those similarities, just like you would if you were, or if you came across twins or have the opportunity to be with twins or watch them interact, or you yourself are interacting with them. I do not want to tilt it because I did not tilt Milton. But this one, oh my goodness, wow. Dory and his jagged sides, or the jagged parts of his personality, but yet grounded, very similar to Milton here. Just want this to continue. First, just watching it spin. Going to help it flow a little bit by just patting down some of the flow, or the flow extender, the white extender. And it's okay, I've gotten some of the blue in there, but it will not affect the composition, I think, too badly. I'm intervening in a child's life or destiny. Hopefully it does not alter that path. But as parents, sometimes you have to step in. It's not all the time, or maybe all the time. All right, I want to spin it and see where Dory goes here. And I'm going to shout out to SS Bassinet. Thank you so much for your fantastic reads. I know you've got a lot more out there that I will get to. The Holiday Hiccups, the Traces of Home, A Mother's Love, which I had said, Dying Takes It Out of You, Traces of Angels, Use Caution, It's Earth, Michael's Blood, more than one in that series. I know I'm going on and on. I'm just in awe and love her works. So do grab them. Award-winning, multifaceted fairy tales, the allure of mythical creatures. And she does touch on some current issues, or actually issues that probably go back as far as time. And all of her reads are very timely and very thought-provoking. And I guarantee you will come away with a sense of, what might I do? What would I have done? And what if this situation had been this way or that way? And stretch out your belief. Sometimes suspend the theological ideologies, the pedagogical ideas that have been researched for nurture nature and specifically doing twin studies. All right. Dory is being uncooperative, which is expected, quite frankly, based upon my reading of Dying Takes It Out of You. It's interesting to, as I was reading, because Rory goes through this transformation, and she's always been transformative in, you know, life and the different things that have happened to him, or that the paths he has chosen, choices he's made, so on and so forth. So it kind of goes with that. Here, Dory is being obstinate this morning, and I may just let Dory sit and heal, because there is some healing that's going on for sure, and maybe having a connection with his brother, or finding it is. And as I'm looking at this, I find it interesting because it's kind of like the missing pieces in here, almost like or in my mind, paralleling Dory's own missing piece. And to that end, Milton has some missing pieces, which may not be completely obvious at first, but you wonder, you know, is that also a genetic connection? Is it a nurturing one that's brought about through nurturing? You know, what is your belief? Do you believe that evil is something you are born with? Are you predisposed to that? Or is it a nurturing kind of thing? Parental influence, societal influences. Brings to mind the idea that it takes a village to raise a child. But I don't know. I mean, I believe it, and as a teacher, I live by that mantra. But sometimes certain villages just are not conducive to healthy growth. I'm going to give it a little bit more of a spin and see if Dory can have a little bit more connectivity to self. All right, I want to stop it and just kind of let that flow out a little bit. I am going to touch it up once again here. And spin. And just, let's see if Dory's getting it together yet. Dory really does not want to cooperate. And I think we're going to add a little bit more of that white and see if we can get him to play nicely. He's willing to share his secrets. I think he is. I think he deals with a lot of guilt, not so much self-recrimination, but, and I don't think he's jealous of Milton, but the dynamics are definitely very, very interesting between the two. Definitely kind of on the edge of your seat as you're reading this, and I just could not read fast enough. Much like the other works by S.S. Bassinet that I have read. All right, let's see what's going on. All right, that's going to spin, and as it slows down and stops, I do want to take you in for a close-up, again, of Milton and Dory from Dying Takes It Out of You by S.S. Bassinet. Let's go in for a close-up. Life is full of seasons and changes which are best experienced with the support of friends and family in loving, healing, and touching. All right, Let me take you in, see what's going on. There's Dory. I want you to take a close look at those inner colors. Again, trying to capture that genetic DNA makeup that twins have nearly identical, whereas in siblings, the DNA genetics, they do have some markers that are in common, but they're more so in twins. And there we have Milton and Dory. I hope life treats you kindly. Please do subscribe to my channel. Thank you.